Hi everyone, my name is Katie Wissink and I am the story behind the Katie Elizabeth Rooms. So unfortunately I am unable to make it with Sherry to the meeting today. I do still live in Nebraska, so I'm about 1,000 miles away from Utah. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to get to learn and know more about our foundation today and to learn more about my story and watch this video. So I do have a few notes though, so I will occasionally be looking down at my computer, but we're really excited to be here today. So my sexual abuse began when I was about 4 years old and it lasted until I was 14, so that is a 10-year age span. When I was 14, the abuse did come to light with Sherry. She was my friend's mom. And I just felt comfortable with her, and she saw a bunch of red flags, and so she called me out on my self-harming. She knew there was something behind it, and so she got to what was behind it, and that's how we kind of got here today. So I was interviewed by our state patrol at our local child advocacy center, and then he was arrested a few days later after that. He served 11 years in our state penitentiary, and he was sentenced to 25 years, but he served 11. So when I first found out about the sentencing, I didn't know how it would be possible to move forward with such a minimal sentencing. I did have a therapist at the time, and he reminded me quite often that my abuse didn't happen overnight, and so my healing was not going to happen overnight. And so I think hearing the very minimal sentencing was really discouraging for me, and I didn't know how I was going to be able to move past that or move past this complete nightmare that was my childhood. However, I am grateful that I was wrong, and I want to tell you a little bit about how I was wrong and why I'm so grateful that I was. So I feel like a girl's room is almost like sacred territory. It's where a lot of things happen. It's where prank calls can happen, which I do not condone, by the way. Cousins sleep over, friends sleep over, crushes and secrets and gossip are talked about, movies are watched. Like, there's just so much stuff that happens in a girl's room, right? But that same joyful room that can be filled with memories for years to come can also be extremely heartbreak filled and extremely pain filled. It can also become a crime scene like mine did, and that makes it a lot harder to go back into once you know the police and investigators have been all over your room. It makes it really hard. So going back to my story a little bit, I was put in foster care after I was interviewed at the Child Advocacy Center. My biological dad actually did stay at our house with my siblings and my mom for a whole weekend before he was arrested that Monday at work. And so I was in foster care for a few months. And Sherry wanted to come up with a way to help me heal. I think she just knew that coming back into my house and coming back into my room, I was not going to do well when I was surrounded by triggers and my nightmares and panic attacks and flashbacks and all that stuff that PTSD that survivors do go through. I think she really just knew that I wasn't going to do well if I was surrounded by that. And she was absolutely right. She hit the head of the nail. So she wanted to give me a space where I could feel safe, where I could get away from triggers, and I'd be able to really start my journey of healing. So she had the idea to redecorate my room. She wanted to give me a complete new space to walk into when I was able to come home from foster care. What teenage girl doesn't like to have her room redone, right? It's fun to pick out colors and comforters and pillows and chairs. It's really fun just to kind of do all this stuff. So I thought it would just kind of be a fun thing. I didn't know if it's going to help or not, actually, to be honest. And so, I didn't know at the time the actual magnitude of the gift that she was giving me, and that we really want to help so many other children experience to be able to help move on from their trauma. I don't want to act like getting a new room magically made my healing better, magically made my life better, everything went away and I was good. I had to put in the work. I had to put in the therapy time. I had to put the medication, give time to work and all this stuff. But removing the triggers, taking me out of a place where I knew my dad had never seen, that really was so monumental in my healing. I can't even describe it. I know from personal experience that sexual abuse is not something that you heal from overnight. So whether it's something that's recurring or it happened once, it's really traumatic for the person who's going through it. I really think that it takes time, and I personally am very pro therapy. So I think it takes a lot of therapy time also. So something that makes our nonprofit foundation really unique is that we are able to provide a survivor with an entire new atmosphere in their room. So when you're taking the steps to healing from trauma and sexual abuse, but then you have to go back into an area, to sleep especially, where you experience some of the worst trauma and some of the worst memories and feelings of your life, that makes everybody's job of trying to move past this trauma so much harder. You all work at the Child Advocacy Center, so I know you see this firsthand. You see it every day. And it makes it harder. Healing looks a lot different for everybody else. For me, it looked like, it was kind of jump started by being able to go back into the space. I had no choice but to move back into my, well, I mean, I suppose I could have stayed in foster care, but that wasn't really an option for me. I had no other choice other than to go back into the space where I had been so violated and so hurt and so painfully aware of evil in the world. But knowing that my dad had no idea anymore the color my walls were, he had no idea what color my sheets were, he had no idea what pattern my comforter on my bed was, he had no idea what my new surroundings, where I would spend a lot of time in my room, was like. He had no idea. And to me, that meant so much to me. He controlled and manipulated so much of my life that even just having my own space in my own bedroom where he didn't know anything, he had no control over anything in there, was so powerful for me. Moving on, from sexual abuse is something that can really, really, really affect the rest of your life. I would be lying if I said that I didn't have nightmares. I don't have flashbacks, and I don't have panic attacks and panic disorder and all this stuff. I do. I still put up with that almost every day still. But I have been able to move on, and I have been able to have a relatively normal life. I married my sweet husband over 7 years ago. We have a beautiful little girl, and I've gone to college, and I've done a lot of things that I have really wanted to do in my life. And I can truly say I believe I was able to do it because I had such a good jump start on my journey to healing. I had a new atmosphere in my room, and it's significant. I cannot say how much it truly has helped me to have this. And I know that if we are able to give this to other survivors, that they will be able to experience the same thing. Everybody's path is different. Like I said, everybody's path to healing is different. So what will work for me is not going to work for them necessarily, or maybe it will. But I do know that if we can come together and do this for survivors, that it truly will make a pretty magnificent difference in their life. Being able to help victims and survivors thrive and kind of start on their path to healing that's what we're about here at Katie Elizabeth Rooms. I really want to help others see that there's hope and that there is healing that they can have in their life and that they can experience. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Have a good rest of your day.